So these are the uncomfortable conversations that I think need to be held. And with this progress report, I kind of just wanted to break down Milan's season at this point because currently Milan is in sixth place, 5 points behind first place with 3 wins, 2 draws, and 2 losses, with 15 goals for us with 9 conceded. And I just wanted to break down this progress report into 3 categories, that being the coach, the management, and the players, because I feel like those 3 kind of go hand in hand with each other. So let's just jump right into this and let's start off with the coach, Paulo Fonseca. And I've been very patient with Paulo Fonseca and I feel like I've made it very vocal. And being the new coach, I feel like that he needs time, much like any coach that kind of gets appointed to a big club. And support from all fronts is guaranteed. And starting with the players, I feel like he just hasn't gotten that. And I think he has found a style that kind of suits this team, getting the best out of guys like Pulisic and guys like Reinders. And we're starting to kind of see Fofana be a part of that conversation as well, I feel like. But with very inconsistent performances prior to the Inter game, we thought that we may turn a page after that derby win. And this is where we would see Milan kind of wake up and be a force in the league. But with very mixed reviews from the Bayer Leverkusen game in the Champions League, it confirmed a lot of things after that Fiorentina loss right before the international break. And one of those things was that Paulo Fonseca clearly does not have a grasp on this locker room. And apart from this, I feel like we kept shifting around the captain's armband and giving it to names that I feel like shouldn't really be the captain or doesn't really make sense to be captain. And that being Leao and Theo Hernandez. And Leao just does not have the personality to kind of bring the team together and unite this team to guide it towards the victory. And Theo as well. I don't know where this narrative kind of came from that Theo is the leader of this team when he himself doesn't have that personality. He's always a hothead and kind of has like that bastard type of personality, like a Pepe or a Diego Costa type player. And he's getting under your skin. And for me, that's just not captain material. And in that Fiorentina game, after the whistle was blown, gets that red card, I think it was just embarrassing to see that the captain of Milan was doing that. And among us fans, I think the favorite to be the captain would be Mike Maignan. And he's always been a voice on the pitch, kind of barking orders at players, kind of organizing his box and defense. And he has that personality and that attitude we need to lead this team. And I think as well, another name that would be fantastic for captain would be Matteo Gabbia. And being the purest Milanista on the team, someone who has vocally backed the coach as well, and knows what it means to play for the badge as well. And I feel like Fonseca has had success with this 4-4-1-1 setup, but for me, it comes down to individuals that are guilty for poor results in the past. I mean, when you concede 2 goals a game, it's kind of hard to come back and win the game in the first place. And that leads to the second category, which is the players. And one of them is Emerson Royale. And I gave him the benefit of the doubt. You know, it's a new player coming to a new team, new league, and so on. But it's a common theme. And in some of these games, he's the one that sticks out for poor performances. And it's not just, one game or 2 games. It's consistently, it's constant. And it's just not being poor positionally. It's technically as well, kind of just losing balls here and there, not really, doing what he can to be the best player that he can be. And along with him is Fikao Tomori. And I feel like this is an uncomfortable conversation that needs to be held. And I feel like Fikao Tomori has gotten away with a lot of blood on his hands. But for me, especially after that Fiorentina game, I'm just have not been impressed with him this season. And being one of the more established players on the team as well, I expect a lot more from him. And I haven't seen that quality on a consistent basis in a good long while. And if I'm being honest, he's probably the next player that I could see being on that transfer list if a Premier League team offers a big chunk of change for him. And because it's clear to me that Gabbia is our best defender. And I think universally among us Milan fans, that is agreed upon. And this as well goes for 2 players as well, which is Theo and Leao, which I mentioned earlier, captainship and all that. But We know the quality that these two can bring, and I feel like a majority of Milan fans are asking them something that they just are not able to bring to the table. And one of those is Rafa being this main guy to bail us out of these moments and to be in that conversation with Vinny and Mbappe and so on. But for me, it's a little unfair for Rafa to kind of get all this blame when the defense is the one conceding 2 goals a game. On top of that, he's just not at that Vinny and Mbappe level. He offers you something that's being a support winger, getting assists and being a threat on that left-hand side to give relief to Pulisic on the right. And Rafa has never been a goal scorer. So I don't know where this narrative comes from where Rafa has to score, 30, 40 goals a season when we see Rafa go one-on-one multiple times and just completely miss. Most notably against Milinkovic-Savic when we played against Torino match day 1. And he's been a support winger, getting more assists last year in Serie A, in Champions League, in Europa League. And I feel like what I've seen from Rafa this season, 4 assists in 7 games is pretty good. And I feel like our attack has been great for this season. And our problem, I feel like, is the defensive side. And that leads us to Theo Hernandez. And Theo is such a strange player because fans have mixed feelings about him, and many appreciate his attacking contributions and pace, which add dynamism to that left-hand side, which we always kind of talk about this Theo kind of combination and so forth. However, there's a frustration with his defensive inconsistencies and reckless play, and feeling that he can be a liability at times. And fans often talk about the leadership qualities, especially in the light of these captaincy discussions, with some believing that he lacks the temperament to be the captain and fill that role. But overall, I feel like his offensive talent is recognized, of course, among the fan base, and concerns of his defensive reliability are the ones that kind of persist amongst the fan base. But with criticism comes results, and I think that this time where he's, suspended for, I think, 2 games, that he'll serve. And I think he'll come back and play well, because I feel like Theo is one of those reactionary players. He'll kind of, see, Twitter and stuff like that. And I think he'll come good for us after his suspension. And what better game to come back from a suspension than Napoli? So I think that'll be a sensational game to watch Theo play in. And my last point is the management. And this is a huge talking point in the Milan community. And I believe our problems we're facing now are because of the decisions made at the top, starting with the sacking of Paolo Maldini, someone that a lot of these players looked up to for guidance and leadership. And from that moment, I think the management lost a lot of backing from a lot of fans, including myself. However, they kind of started to win me over after we saw a lot of these players start to flood in. We saw Pulisic come in, we saw Loftus-Cheek, we saw Reinders. And yes, there were some question marks how they would turn out, but they ended up coming out to be great investments. Pulisic as our best player, hands down. Reinders is easily one of the best midfielders in the league. But the appointment of Paulo Fonseca was one of the fans that a lot of fans didn't want. And if you kind of want to twist the narrative a little bit, the management didn't want Fonseca either. They wanted Lopetegui. And I feel like it's still kind of up in the air for some fans to get won over by Paulo Fonseca, including myself, because there are still a lot of question marks that I have. Why is he rotating the captain's armband? Why is he, kind of tweaking with these formations and stuff like that? But I think he's just trying to throw shit at the wall to see if it sticks or not. But the main concern I feel like that fans have with this management is the additions made for the squad. Because how is this management willing to drop 40 million on Xerxes when he goes to Manchester United? That deal falls through. But then we're not able to drop the same amount of money on Buongiorno. He goes to Napoli. And he would drastically improve our squad, considering what I said about Fikao Tomori earlier. And on top of that, while Emerson was bought for 20 million, Thiago Santos and loads of options were available. And now we're looking at other options because now Emerson isn't good enough. And with injured Calabria, his knee is made of jelly. So the names that were brought to the table as well to kind of replace Emerson and Calabria are just so underwhelming. And then on top of that, Benacer's injured, and now we're looking at different options to bring in more depth. And then there's this emphasis on the Futuro team when we don't even play these guys like Zeroli or Silvano Vos that would easily, I think, make an impact on this team, to be completely honest. And another thing is that these signings happen so late in the transfer window. We saw Fofana barely get over the line right before deadline day. We saw Alvaro Morata come super late after the Euros. And how is that helping Fonseca, the guy that they picked to succeed? And to be completely honest, it doesn't help him at all whatsoever. And I think another thing that has been just such a headline this season, getting so much criticism, was Zlatan as well. Being a weird appointment too, especially when Cardinale was the one that said that who other than Zlatan is better to represent Milan, when he was the one that fired Paolo Maldini, most appearances all time, most Champions League as a player. Like, how are you going to fire a guy like Maldini and say Zlatan is a better representation for AC Milan? Makes no sense. And you can definitely see that the players were way more attached to Paolo Maldini than Zlatan, because that's just the type of guy Maldini is and what he represents to the club and to the players. And if you're asking me what this management can do to kind of turn things around, I think the damage is already done what they did in the past. But to kind of sweep things kind of under the rug, the best thing that they could do is just purchasing established names to really bolster this team and invest in the squad, like Paolo Maldini was saying, and to improve the squad right away instead of kind of buying these players for 20 million and then flipping them for profit. I just don't think that's a sustainable way to run a football club. But let me know what you guys have to say in the comment section below. What does the management have to do to kind of win over the fans and you guys, most importantly? So I think that'll do it for this episode, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. Make sure you guys check us out on all of our links linked in the description below. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Ciao ragazzi.